Welcome, Mountain Mamas. This is a half-hour Zoom training on drowning prevention. In this, we're going to discuss some open water swimming safety, as well as the signs of drowning, and we'll cover what to do if such an incident occurs. So a little bit about me. I'm Candace Wilson. I was a lifeguard for 8 years. 3 of those years were at Utah State University. I was a swim instructor for 12 years, and I've been an avid open water triathlete swimmer for 11 years. So I do know a little bit about this. So let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to talk a little bit about open water swimming. And when I say open water swimming, I really mean any open body of water, man-made or natural. And that means reservoirs, lakes, river, ocean. I'm sure there's ponds and other things in there too. But one thing about open water swimming incidents is that these are completely avoidable. They're completely preventable. You should be wearing a properly fitted life jacket at all times when you're on the water. A properly fitted life jacket is described by the Coast Guard as using the term comfortably snug. If you can't make your life jacket fit snugly, it's too big. And if you can't comfortably put it on and fasten it, it's too small. So just as an example, I have a way too big life jacket right here. Now, this is my husband's, and if you know him, he is 6'4", 6'4", and there is no way that I can make his life jacket fit comfortably. It's too big, especially because it comes too far up above my head. So you can see that now. Okay. As far as my daughter's life jackets, there's no way in high heavens I can even pull this over my shoulders. It's too small. The correct size is going to be one that I can buckle up all the way down. I'm wearing a sweater, so forgive me just a little bit here, okay? Buckle it all the way down, and when I pull it, it doesn't come up above my chin. I'm also comfortable, I can move my arms, but it is not going to, I'm not gonna slip out of it, and it's going to be comfortable for me in the water. So that is a comfortably fitted life jacket, the properly fitted life jacket. Also, I would highly recommend getting one that is US Coast Guard approved. It does make a difference. Okay, if you're not able to get a life jacket or you turn up with one that does not fit, a good alternative is, well, I mean, there really is no good alternative to a life jacket. It really is just the most important thing. But if you are going to go out and you're going to swim, a good alternative is a swim buoy. Now, they're small, they're compact, they can fit really easily in your backpack. And the nice thing about this is that it can double as a, not only as a flotation device, but also as a rescue device in an emergency, okay? It ends up looking, but it's about this long. You can use it as a dry bag, which is really nice. You put your stuff in here, you fold it down, you buckle it, and then you fill it up with this little guy right here. Okay. And then, of course, you know, you do the little twisty thing here. And then you fit it around your waist, right here. You buckle it, and then it will trail behind you as you swim, okay? The nice thing about this also is that in an emergency, boats can see these. They're very bright on the water, and all the ones that they sell on Amazon are somewhere around in the neighborhood of $20 to $30. So they're affordable. Now, once again, they're not to be used, you know, they're ideally you want a life jacket. The life jackets are the best option. But when I go out to swim, even when I'm alone or when I'm alone, which you probably, you know, being alone is never a good thing either when you're swimming. But when I'm alone, I take this with me because it shows people where I am. It makes sure I'm visible on the water with boats. Yeah, and so and I can fit all my stuff in them. Very nice. Let's see. Okay. Then the last thing that I wanted to say about the open water swimming is to be wary of the water temperature. There's a good chance, depending on the elevation, that you will be swimming in glacial water. And that usually means sub 50, maybe 55 degrees. It's really easy for your body to start shutting down in cold water, and you just don't realize it. Your whole body will slow down, your speech will slur, your muscles start to cramp. And in this situation, if you have a life jacket or the buoy's nice because you can hold on to it while you kick to dry land. So in this situation, if you have a life jacket or a buoy, make for dry land as fast as you can, or somebody will probably need to go in after you. And unfortunately, in that scenario, it risks their life as well as yours. One thing that can help with that, and these are my last props, I swear, is if you know that you're going to be swimming in really, really cold water, bring a wetsuit. One thing that I need to distinguish is that this is not a good wetsuit. Okay, this is great for when you want to water ski and you want a little bit of warmth, right? Okay, do you see how it cuts off at the knees and at the arms? This is my daughter's, so it's really, really small. Okay, but really what you want is you want a swimming wetsuit, which is, of course, something like this. It's long, it goes all the way down to the wrists, and it goes all the way down to the ankles. Now, the reason, one of the reasons that you want a swimming wetsuit is not just because it preserves much needed body heat, but also because the wetsuit itself can help with buoyancy. It's important to note though, it's not a life jacket and it can never take the place of a life jacket, but in certain situations, it is very helpful. So, okay, so then of course, lastly, do not swim alone. But if you must, bring a life jacket, bring a swim buoy, make sure that you're visible and that you're safe. Okay, so let's move on to the signs of drowning. So the classic signs of drowning, they're not like in the movies. I know that a lot of times they're depicted as lots of big splashes and there's, I don't know, there's yelling for help and screaming and all that stuff. It's very, very different in real life. It's very silent. To get an idea of how quiet and undramatic from this surface drowning can be, it's the number 2 cause of accidental death in children age 15 and under. And of the approximately 750 children who will drown next year, about 375 of them will do so within 25 yards of a parent or other adult. And 10% of those drownings, the adult will actually watch them do it, having no idea that it's actually happening. And as a lifeguard who has seen many incidents over the years, I can attest to that. I remember specifically diving to get a 2-year-old who had stepped off a step, and her mom was sitting right there, less than 2 feet away, chatting with a mom. And it was fun. I ended up with all these fun scrapes and bruises and whatnot, but I have seen it. That is true. It is a silent kind of thing. Except in rare circumstances, drowning people are physiologically unable to call out for help. The respiratory system is designed for breathing. Speech is secondary. So breathing has to be fulfilled first before speaking, yelling, speech can occur in any situation. So a couple of things to look for. The mouths of drowning people will alternately sink below the water and then back up above it. They're not above the surface of the water long enough to exhale, inhale, and then yell for help. So even if you just help, they're not above the water for that long. Okay. When their mouths are above the surface, they're trying to expel and breathe in as fast as they can because they know that their body is going back down. Drowning people can't wave for help. Nature instinctively forces them to extend their arms laterally and push down, trying to keep their bodies above the water. Pressing down on the surface permits drowning people to leverage their bodies so they can lift their mouth out of the water to breathe. They cannot voluntarily control their arm movements. They cannot stop drowning and perform voluntary movements such as waving for help, moving toward a rescuer, or reaching out for a piece of rescue equipment. So they just don't have the presence of mind to do it. And it's a physiological response. Their whole being is turned inward. They are trying to survive. People's bodies remain upright in the water. There's no evidence of a supporting kick. And unless they are rescued, these people can only struggle on the surface of the water from 20 to 60 seconds before full submersion occurs. So that's a small window. A couple of other, so let's just review: head low in the water, mouth at water level. Their head is tilted, usually tilted back, trying to kind of gasping, kind of like a fish, like, I don't know if that kind of makes a lot of sense, but their eyes are glassy and empty, unable to focus. And that, I think, is a lot of the panic there. That's that inward focus. Their eyes may be closed. Their hair may be over their forehead and their eyes. They are vertical in the water. That is a big one. My one question I ask myself when I'm a lifeguard and I'm watching somebody is, are they moving forward? And when they're like this, they're not moving forward. If they're hyperventilating or gasping, kind of like what we were talking about, trying to get as much air in before they go back down. Trying to swim in a particular direction but not moving, which is that whole, are they moving? Are they making any headway? Sometimes they'll try to roll over onto their back, but they won't do anything besides kind of maybe turn their shoulders. They'll stay vertical, or appear to be climbing an invisible ladder. That may make a little bit more of a splash, but usually it's under the water. But yeah, so my number one question I ask when I see a possible situation, once again, are they moving forward? And depending on what that answer is, it determines how I react. When that kind of a situation occurs, there are a few guidelines for getting a drowning person safely out of the water. Number one, they say, is to reach the victim with your hand or your foot, clothing, a stick, a paddle, anything which allows you to remain safely on land or in a boat. Now, once again, sometimes they cannot control their arm movements, and so reaching out and grabbing something may not be possible for them. But you still want to try. Throw something that floats to the victim. Once again, there is that limitation, whether or not they can grab it. If you have a paddleboard or a canoe or a kayak or a raft, you want to row to the victim and to, grab them, pull them up in to your watercraft. You can tow the person to safely by throwing out a line and hauling him or her in. But once again, that depends on whether or not they have the presence of mind to grasp it. And then if all else fails, and it says if you have been trained in swimming rescues, and I agree with that, because there are a couple of things that you should probably practice before you do it in real life. But if you do decide that you need to go out there and get that person, you know that you go risking your own life. Now, if you do that and you want to do that safely, or at least without the proper training, once again, I don't recommend that, but here are a couple of tips that might help. Okay. Now, the first thing is a flotation device of some kind is a must unless they are unconscious, okay? And I'll state those reasons why you need a flotation device in just a second. It's easier to get them to shore is kind of the basic gist of it. But the real thing that you need to know is that you do not approach a swimmer from the front. Never approach a swimmer from the front. If you approach them from the front, it will cause the swimmer to try and latch onto you, and they will pull you down with them. They will pull you under the water with them. It's instinctual. They don't have the presence of mind not to. They are in full-blown panic mode. It's going to happen. So in order to be safe, you need to approach them from behind. It's easier also. You are able to, if their arms are above the water, you can reach in underneath both armpits and pull them back against you, and then you can back kick and actually try and get them to say, hey, you know, could you please back kick with me, or you know, could you please kick with me, and that can help. I would highly recommend doing that with the flotation device, and if you do have one, keep it in between you and the person that you are pulling. Okay, so if you reach under their armpits, try to have that flotation device between you and the person that you're pulling up against you. All right. This will also prevent them from grabbing onto you and pushing you down under the water. Now, if that happens, you will respond. Don't panic. First of all, just don't panic. Okay. But if they have their arms around you and they're pushing you down, the one thing that you need to remember is you need to grab underneath their arms or their elbows. Okay. You need to push up, which means it's going to push you down further. Okay. But push them up, and then you need to push them away. Okay. So if their arms are around you like this, reach up underneath their elbows, push up, push away, make it to the surface, and then try again. Okay. And in that, when I say that, I mean go back around their back. Okay. Yeah, when you are a safe distance away and you can do it again, you can try again. They're not going to come after you because obviously they're still straight up and down like this, and they're not going anywhere. Sorry. Well, it is not unheard of to disable the person trying to drown you, and this is super like last resort. Okay, but an elbow to the nose is going to stun them enough for you to drag them to dry land. Emily's laughing. But it's true. It really is a kill or be killed type of situation. I mean, don't kill them, but you know, disabling them, clocking them in the nose if they're trying to drown you, is totally acceptable. In fact, I would highly recommend it if there's no other options. So yeah, try and get them to safely as much as you can. Once the patient is safe, well, first let me ask, are there any questions before I go into CPR and rescue breaths and evacuation? Does anybody have any? Okay, Emily.
Can you ever do one arm rescue? Is that a possibility if you're a strong swimmer?
I mean, yes. But if you're a strong swimmer, but I don't know, have you ever practiced that or tried that? It really does depend on how big they are and how strong of a swimmer you are. I have seen it done. It's not recommended that you do it because there is still a chance that they can maneuver their way around to kind of grab a hold of you and pull you under again. You know, and if with a flotation device, maybe a little more feasible, but I was always taught that it's 2 hands underneath, flotation device in between, and I've got a good grip on them. They can't drown me, and I can back kick as much as I want. And that flotation device keeps both of us above the water. Is there anybody else that had a question? No, we're good? Okay, awesome. Okay, so once the patient is safely out of the water, you will obviously put them on their back, find a flat surface, put them on their back. You're going to check for breathing and a pulse. So if there is neither, then you obviously have to start CPR. If there is a pulse but no breathing, then you start rescue breaths. If or and when the patient starts to breathe, or if they are both, if they're breathing and there is a pulse when you pull them out, then you're going to automatically go into recovery position to maintain the airway. Now, recovery position is they're laying on their side. One arm, the arm that's on the bottom and the leg that's on the bottom are straight. This hand comes onto the back of their cheek, and as they roll, it kind of helps them stay on their side. The knee is likewise bent and put down at an angle to make sure that they don't roll onto their face. So I'm not sure if that makes sense. I was practicing it on my daughter, but she decided she didn't want to participate in this tonight. So very sorry about that. They will throw up on you, by the way. That is just, that's going to happen. I had a rescue when I was at Utah State University, and as soon as I pulled her out, I checked her pulse, I checked her breathing. I found she was both, but she was almost unconscious. And so the first thing I did was I rolled her into recovery position, and the first thing she did was throw up all over me, which is not pleasant, but hey, I was like, oh, I was relieved, she's alive. And, you know, hopefully not any lasting damage. So you will get thrown up on, and that is okay. So at least they're alive. In cold water submersion incidents, try to warm them up as you do CPR. If you are alone with them, maybe try and find a blanket if you can. If there's more than one person with you, maybe have somebody start CPR right away, and they grab the blankets and start maybe trying to warm them up with I don't know, how do you do like the rubbing, trying to get that circulation going, warming up the skin. But the thing with cold water submersion is that there's a saying in the medical community that you're not dead until you're warm and dead. So keep doing CPR for as long as possible. Hope for a miracle. Patients have been resuscitated after more than an hour of cold water submersion, and without any lasting. Well, I'm sure the psychological defect, I'm sure those were bad, but without any lasting physiological problems. So, so just keep going, try and get them warm if you can, but go as long as you can. And then all patients surviving a submersion incident should be warmed and evacuated as soon as possible. Even if they appear fully recovered, even if they're like, oh, I don't want to go, it's fine, I'm good. No, it's get them warm, get them out. Long-term problems often develop from the water in their lungs. They can develop pneumonia. They can experience what they call dry drowning or secondary drowning. You never want to be in the mountains for that. You always want to have access to quick medical care. Get them to medical care as soon as possible, no matter how much they insist otherwise. So, and that's pretty much all I have. Does anybody have any other questions?
I do, yeah. Maybe the secondary drowning is what you're talking about. I just had a friend saying that she heard that it's rare, but sometimes a kid will be swallowing water in the pool and then they'll end up drowning at home later or something like.
Yes, that has happened before. The secondary drowning often exhibits, I think, like flu-like symptoms. They develop, I think it's a fever. Hold on, it's like they develop and then they're throwing up, but it's the water in the lungs. They have a hard time breathing, and then it develops more fluid in the lungs, and then they pass away from, I believe, suffocation. Let me hold on. Let me just. So it says that the warning signs are sorry, okay, look for coughing, persistent coughing. So, and obviously this is after, you know, they're in a, they've been in a pool all day or something like that. So they're constantly coughing. They're super fatigued. So very, very much sleep, you know, tired, exhausted. They're throwing up. And I believe that, and it's trouble breathing. I've heard that there have been fever that's been part of the symptoms, but it just kind of depends on the kid, I bet. So anyway, so yes, those are, that absolutely is a possibility. It's scary because especially with our kids, right? We just don't know. So I would definitely, probably the biggest one I would look for is the breathing. If they're having a hard time breathing, then you should go to the ER.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Is there anybody else that has a question? No, we're good. All right, you guys are awesome. And yeah, if you feel the need to you know, ask a question, you know, feel free. You can find me on our Mountain Llamas page. You can email me. I believe that both Emily and Marilyn have my information. And yeah, if you would like my notes from this, I can send those to you as well. So you guys are great, and thanks so much.
So I'm sorry,